I'm Big Mama Eagle, and this is Fit Class. In this series, I'm going to be teaching you how to turn a standard bodice block into a bespoke, custom fitted bodice block that we can use to drag dresses, tops, jacket, just about anything that you can imagine. It's going to start with this block right here. If you don't already have your block, make sure that you click the link in my bio to download my free bodice block workbook and guide. In that, you will find a link to download and print a pattern for a bodice block that have been from sizes 0 through 22. Print it off, put it together, and meet me back here for this series. Let's get started. We're going to need a few things to get our fitting started. First and foremost, you've got to have your completed, put together bodice block. It's going to need to have a zipper in the back. Then you'll need a tool for marking. I use just a regular pencil. We'll need some safety pins for pinching out. We'll need a seam ripper in case we need to let some seams out. And you'll need somewhere to put your notes. Or if you want to use Big Mama's Fit Guide, the link is in my bio. Let's get started. All right, guys, this is my completed bodice block. Two important things that have happened here is that I have marked the seam allowance around the neck and around each sleeve, and I have snipped all the way around to the seam allowance so that we can see exactly where those things are going to lay. All right, now put this on. The first step is to just stand back and evaluate the fit. What I'm going to do right now is just tuck all these little flaps under. By tucking that in, it allows me to evaluate where this armhole is actually hitting on me. This is a good spot. It's coming right into the center of that shoulder bone. But what you'll notice is that there is a bit of a drag line right here. Drag lines are good because they show us where we've got too much tension. And so this drag line is pointing right here to my underarm, which means that it's going to be a little bit too tight. We need to relax that out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, with my arm down, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark right there at the bottom of that drag line. Okay? And then I will bring it up. Looks like I need to bring it up right under here. And this is just accounting for the fact that on my body, I have a pudgy underarm. If you don't have that, you probably won't have an issue like this. And so I'm just gonna smooth that back up just to give myself a guideline. Again, working from the top down, I wanna look at the slope of the shoulder, how that is hitting on me. I'm pretty happy with that. We did notice some drag lines right here, but we're going to be fixing that by lowering the armhole, and everything up through here looks nice and smooth. Because I am a bit shorter than average, it looks like the bust point is a bit lower than my torso calls for. Protrusion of the bust is right here on this bodice block, but the protrusion of my bust is right here. That is something that we are going to need to take care of when we get to the fitting. For right now, I am just going to make note of that. The next thing that we are going to be evaluating is the length of the bodice. Even though as a top, this doesn't look like it is too long, the bodice block should stop at the smallest point of your waist, which for me is right about here. So when we lower this back down, we can see that there is a little bit extra down here at the bottom that we are going to want to get rid of. Again, this is an adjustment for me for height. On you, it might be a little bit too short. If you're tall, you might need to lengthen yours. If you're short like me, you might need to shorten it. Right now, you don't need to do anything, just make a note. Looking at the sides, they seem to lay smoothly, so I don't identify any issues there. Now we're gonna evaluate the back. So I'm looking into my mirror behind me, and I can see that I'm getting some waviness, some puckering in my zipper. That means that there is a bit too much length in the back, but I know that that is going to be the case because the entire block is just a bit too long on me, maybe about an inch. So as we shorten it, we will address those issues. Okay, now it's time for the fun part. We are going to take this muslin off, flip it inside out, and start making our alterations. I recommended having a reversible separating zipper that you keep especially for making your muslins, and I'm about to show you why. Zip myself out of this one. And now I'm gonna turn this inside out and put it back on with all of the seams facing outward. And because my zipper is reversible, I am able to zip it right up. Ta-da! So now we've got our block on the side where we can actually manipulate our seams and start to pin them out. It is time for safety pins. All right, so on my bodice, I already noted this drag line that I'm going to need to lower my underarm just a bit. If you notice that the armhole is tight in any way, you're gonna want to go in, and even if you have a small pair of scissors, this is a good time to just snip it, like right while it's on your body. Let me show you what that looks like. So that drag line is coming right into there. So I'm gonna start here. All right, so I make my first snip right at the seam allowance, and I'm gonna cut out just a little bit to see how it hangs. All right, I'm still getting a drag line, so I'm gonna take out a little bit more. It's pushing out a little bit right here. All right, now the drag line is totally gone. The next big thing that we need to address is going to be all of this excess that I am experiencing here in this area. So in addition to having a small bust, I have a short torso. So this fullest part of this block sits right here, and I can tell that because I've marked the dots, and that's always going to be at the fullest part of the bust. But the fullest part of my bust sits right here. All right, so we're off by a little bit. To fix that, all we are going to do is pinch out for as much as you can. You want to try and get equal amounts of fabric in each hand, and we're going to pinch it out and pin it. I'm just trying to make sure that my pinning starts at the same spot on each side so that I am, as much as I can, taking out equal parts, and I'm just going to continue to pin down. Now, when you're pinching and pinning, you want to make sure that you are getting a fit that you are comfortable with. You can leave it loose if that's how you want to draft, if that's the fit that you like. You can get it skin tight if that's the fit that you like. That is totally up to you. I tend to go pretty tight with my bodices. I don't like for there to be a lot of extra space. So this is what it looks like on this side. Keeping these seams in place, we have pinned this one out. And then on the other side, we have pinned it down nice and straight. I have created some drag lines right here, and that means that I've got something a little bit too tight still up in here. So I'm going to move this one out. All right. So now I've moved those pins so that I don't have a bunch of pull lines going through here. Last thing that I need to evaluate is going to be the length on this guy. And I'm really just going to take my waist, follow it all the way around, and just mark. Now that our front is all pinned out, I want to turn around and take a look at the back. Okay, so this is the back. I'm getting a little waving in the zipper up here, but I think it's because in the overall, the whole thing is just a bit too long. And so I think that once we pull out and remove the extra length, that bubbling is going to stop. So I'm going to hold. Again, I am marking at the smallest part of my waist, which is right here. Just going to follow that around and mark for myself, and that's where my block is going to stop. Now, just to make sure I am good with these alterations that I made, I'm going to take this muslin off and I'm going to flip it around and try it back on. The next step is we're going to take this off and use it to create a pattern that is going to be our official bodice block. So make sure that you are here for the next part of the series where I show you how we get it from this muslin to a pattern that we can use over and over and over again. I'm Big Mama Eagle, and you already know I'm going to teach you how to sew, and I will see you next time in fit class.